All right, so we just finished watching the Kentucky and Louisville game, and there was a major performance from Mikel Brown Jr., as well as some other showings from some other prospects as well. But I think Mikel is kind of the guy we'll focus on because he's has the potential to be one of the top guys. And, you know, I think with Mikel, one of the things that we kind of saw early on with the exhibitions and some of his other early performances was like, he's a shooter, but what is it going to look like when he starts getting downhill? And today, I think the goods were just on full display. I could go into it, but Jake, what did you think of his performance tonight?
Yeah, it was really impressive. I mean, the jump shot was there, like you mentioned, but he was getting downhill so much. It almost reminded me of kind of what we saw last year from Dylan Harper a lot at Rutgers, where he had one-on-ones and then they would bring in a ball screen, and whether they would, bring the pressure on it and he would have to dump it off to the short roll, or if they would give him space like he was launching it from three, it was a full showcase of the talent that Mikel Brown Jr. has. He showed the three, he showed getting downhill, even getting to the free throw line and hitting free throws. I mean, you're not going to score 30 in a college game without getting to the line, and he showed that he can draw contact and be efficient right there as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was 10 for 11 on free throws. So just the fact that he's able to do that, I mean, once he does go to the league, I mean, rookies, they always don't get those calls at the same level. But I think down the road, that's something that can be major. But also the passing too, it really jumped out to me. He had 5 assists, 1 turnover. And I think you mentioned it in the group chat, but it seemed like he had a jump pass where he just kind of made his mind too late and then the defense read it. And, I think he kind of had a few plays like that, but still, I think the passing is something that is so intriguing about him when you mix that with kind of the microwave scoring that he has. Like, and he only had 5 assists, but it felt like there were more kind of like hockey assists where he passed it to the short roll man and then they kicked it to another guy in the corner and converted it to 3 easy points. I mean, it's just the scoring and the passing feel like that combined. I think that's really what makes him so intriguing.
Yeah, he had that one kind of jump pass, just kind of a freshman mistake, just leaping in the air. It looked like he was trying to go for a shot, and then once he saw the defense was there, he kind of just panicked and looked for the nearest target. Unfortunately, I think it was Otega Owe was in the lane to take it away. But Brandon, I'm pretty sure he had a through the legs dump off in the middle of the lane to one of their bigs, who that's actually a point we should bring up, because this Louisville team seems like they're going to be pretty dangerous, because not just can Mikel Brown pass the ball, but their 2 bigs are really effective in that kind of medium area right ahead of the free throw line, that short roll, and they can just be a connecting piece, either kicking it to the corner or if someone's cutting from the baseline. They looked like they are going to be an offensive machine with the amount of threes that they can get up and also the passing ability, but it's led by Mikel Brown Jr.
Yeah, I mean, in the NBA, no, that I think that's something that's also really important for Mikel too, because it's like in the NBA now, I think that's something you're seeing a lot with bigs. And like, take a guy like Derek Lively, for instance, when they had that finals run just a few years ago. Also, rip to Nico Harrison, man. That's tough that what happened. But, him, a lot of his, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but a lot of what he did well in that run was kind of maximized by the short roll passing that he had. And that was something that he kind of showed a little bit at Duke, but like, then you kind of saw it immediately translate to the NBA. And, I think my point with that is just that Mikel, being able to find those guys in their comfort spot so that way they can go make another play it's something very, very small. But, I think we saw the attention that he was attracting after that monster first half. And then, he was still able to be impactful, even if it doesn't immediately show up in the box score.
And what was even, I think, more impressive was he had that 20 piece in the first half. And then in the second half, we thought, like, we were all holding our breath for a minute when he went down. He was kind of holding on, I think it was his right leg. I thought we had like a devastating bad injury, and then it ended up just being cramps. He still finished, like, it was kind of a quiet second half. He couldn't really get much of his offense going because he was so dynamic getting downhill, and you could tell that he just had one tire that was just flat in the second half. He just couldn't get that same energy and burst on the first step. But he still finished with, I think, 9 points in the second half on still pretty efficient shooting. So if he doesn't cramp up, I mean, we could be looking at like a 35 piece from Mikel Brown Jr. against a top 10 team and a really good defense as well. Denzel Aberdeen at the end of the game was like attached at the hip, not letting him get the ball when they were trying to close the deal. So for Louisville to still be able to do it, even when he's getting clamped up, like you're not touching this basketball, was really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you brought up a good point. Kentucky, on paper, I mean, I'm sure maybe some Kentucky fans tonight would beg to differ, but on paper,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be a really good defensive team. And, Otega Owe, Denzel Aberdeen, like those are guys who are going to give you fits up top. And for what it's worth, I don't want to get lost too much in like how many points he could have had, but he was 3 for 10 from the 3-point line, and it felt like he could have easily hit a few more shots. And, with the type of microwave scorer that he is, I am expecting at least 1 or 2 games where it's like, okay, he's getting downhill, but he's also hitting a crazy high amount of shots. And, it was a really good performance, but it did also feel like there was a lot more damage he could have done.
There's going to be nights this season, Brandon, where you have to have two screens going at the same time. There's going to be a Kansas game where Darren Peterson's going for 40, and there's going to be a Louisville game where Mikel Brown is pushing 40 points as well. And it's going to be just electric to watch because they're not going to play a defense like Kentucky every single night. And they were talking at the end of the broadcast, Louisville has a pretty stacked schedule, especially in the non-conference coming up. So those are going to be more games where I feel like Mikel Brown Jr. is going to need to jack up a lot of shots like we saw tonight, and it could be really fun to watch. I mean, if he can dish out a couple more of these 20, 25 pieces against good teams, we'll see how Darren Peterson goes the rest of the season. And I know he's projected number one, but like Mikel Brown Jr. looks like he might be right there with him.
You know, and this is getting very far ahead, but Louisville, I think it's safe to say they're going to be in the tournament. I feel like, I mean, they're ranked 12th, barring, something crazy happening, but, and, they're playing also in the ACC, which isn't necessarily the strongest conference, but, you get down the road and like, I also want to give a shout out to Conwell and McNeely, sorry.
McNeely, yeah.
They did their parts tonight as well. Conwell had 24 and McNeely, he was hitting shots when he needed them. But Mikel Brown is like, he's like your March Madness player, I feel like, because he's that guard who kind of does a little bit of everything. He has the microwave scoring, and like, he didn't really show it tonight, but also when he gets downhill, he can put one on your head too if the paint's wide open. So I would anticipate him being like, of all the prospects, being like one of the more electric prospect performers.
Yeah, it's interesting. He almost has like a Tyrese Halliburton type of physical build. So, like you mentioned, when he gets downhill, he could be very aggressive at the rim, but you wouldn't really expect it from like kind of a slimmer guard like that. But he's about 6'5", 6'6", and can really leap. So I think you're right. I think in March Madness, the ability to score at the rim, shoot threes, and be so dynamic with the ball in his hands. I mean, we saw him run countless ball screens tonight, and he made the right read almost every single time, whether it was backing away when the double was coming and just like slowing down, not rushing anything, just getting into the open man. Like, it was so impressive to see him run this Louisville offense. And I think it's not a coincidence that they gave him the ball so much and they scored 96 points. Like, they jacked up a lot of threes, got open looks, and I don't see how this isn't a repeatable type of performance. The only thing that won't be repeatable is like, what did this team shoot? They shot 13 of 40 from downtown. That's not terrible numbers, but that's pretty good shooting in college.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to get caught too much on the exhibition, but I think one of the things too is the ball felt like it just stuck a lot more, especially, with their backcourt. But tonight, I think you kind of saw, and Mikel Brown especially, because I think they kind of put the ball in his hands the most, so he was kind of the biggest culprit. But tonight, I think he did he did a much better job of not forcing the issue. And like, early, I think I'm trying to remember if he was kind of streaky to start the game, but it still felt like, he was like, okay, I'm not going to try to, one-on-one dribble. And I feel like, honestly, what started to get him going, and we can watch the highlights and verify this, but I feel like there were a few shots where it was just kind of like swinging the ball around, and, he happened to be open, like his man got caught in the rotation, and then that's kind of how he got it, got his start, scoring wise. So I think overall, if, they continue to kind of have this offensive approach, then yeah, like they're going to be a really good offensive team. And we brought it up early, but also when you have such, high field bigs that you have that pass the ball and like really make decisions, I think that's really the key to having, a strong offense.
Yeah, I mean, that guy they called the Egyptian magician, that was my first time ever seeing him play tonight. He had a really nice backdoor pass, and that's what is going to kind of make this offense dynamic because you cannot fall asleep on the corner. You're trying to limit threes and you're trying to stay attached, and all of a sudden, boom, a guy's going right by you, right to the rim, and their centers are able to dish it down on a clean bounce pass. So you have to be constantly locked in, and, there's so many ways that they can beat you. And tonight, it just ended up being the 3-point shot.
Yeah. Okay. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, or we could wrap up?
It was just kind of interesting to see like some of the Kentucky guys of, maybe were in the draft process last year, just didn't seem super impressive, at least on the offensive end. I mean, Otega Owe had 12 points on 13 shots. The jump shot just didn't look too comfortable tonight. So he's definitely going to need some bounce back performances as a jump shooter. I know that's not what he's known for, but if he wants to go to the next level, the defense is there, but is he going to be able to be on the floor as an offensive player? So in front of so many scouts tonight, he's going to need a lot of makeup performances.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on it because it's their first, real test of the season, although they did play Purdue as well. But no, I think you do bring up some good points. Like for Otega Owe, like he was kind of the guy who was expected to kind of be the guy. And tonight, if I remember correctly, I think they sat him for a good portion of those closing minutes. And Denzel Aberdeen kind of took over. I mean, and he had 5 turnovers early, so that's not really what you want to see. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how Kentucky looks throughout the season. One of my biggest questions, and this is the last thing that I'll say, but one of my biggest questions about Kentucky is like, they're a really athletic team. It's just, what is the offense going to look like consistently? And like, they came back, and they got in the fight, but for a good portion of the game, they weren't really scoring the ball. And I think that's how you kind of let Louisville go on those big runs. I mean, obviously did, but, yeah, I feel like that's a real, like, you have to have a consistent answer. And like, even if you have to have a different variety of ways to score the ball, not just, steals and transition points, which I feel like was kind of their saving grace in a way tonight. But yeah, Kentucky's going to be an interesting team to monitor just for their prospects and kind of the way that they operate right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. Giving up 96 points is not a winning formula at all. 88's really good offensively, but got to find a way to stop the three and just make more stops in general.
Yeah. But 96 to 88, really exciting game. If you guys enjoyed this breakdown, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And me and Jake are going to do more of these moving forward. And I'm sure, Cameron's pretty busy, but I'm sure he'll get in on some of these too. But yeah, fun game, an exciting start to the season continues. And I'm just excited to see more ball as we get closer to the draft.